Charles Fillmore called love the great harmonizer. The great harmonizer. And in the daily word this morning from 1 John 3:18, it said, let us love, not in word or speech, but in truth and action. In truth and action. That action piece, and thinking of the action and thinking of love as a harmonizer leads us to do what? To think that there is something for us to do, right? That it's not just something to hope for, to wait for, or to ask for it to be done to us, but that there's a possibility that it is to be done in and through and as us. Yeah? Love the great harmonizer. There's also a line from the Daily Word that struck me from this morning. And it said, I find meaning in every situation, every moment. That's so unity. I find meaning in every situation, in every moment. And today we're going to explore the idea of finding the meaning in things and also the possibility of creating meaning in things. In unity, we have a gift to be born into a spiritual practice that asks us to bring all of ourselves to the practice. To not take an easy road, but to become participants in our own spiritual journey, and to look at what am I doing to create this, to look at why is this in my life. One of my favorite unity authors, and I'd say spiritual grandpa to this sanctuary, is Sig Paulson, the Reverend Sig Paulson, who was the minister of this ministry from some time ago. And he says this about unity and about our path. He says, the importance of inner conversion. Unfortunately, much of the religious fervor, zeal, and enthusiasm have gone into attempts to convert humanity to some particular form of religious beliefs and practice, rather than into a more important work of inner conversion on the part of each individual. Jesus' instruction to go into the world and preach the gospel has largely been interpreted as an outer missionary effort to herd the heathen into some denominational camp. The deeper meaning of preaching the gospel to the heathen images in our own consciousness has often been overlooked and neglected, to the detriment of both the individual and true religion. So often in unity, especially when we begin in unity, we recognize that if we ask the question, why? Why is this happening to me? Why is this in my experience? Why am I seeing this? We can have an awakening, and we can have a transformation. I know in the beginning of my time at Unity of Boulder, when I was in college, I would go every Sunday and I would have these aha moments of going, man, I didn't know I was doing that. I just thought my life was like this, but I didn't realize that I was the why. You know? And so in unity, we get very, very good at doing our inner work and taking on the responsibility for our lives. And in fact, the more you go about the unity path, the more people are steeped in the principles, the more you see an incredible level of accountability for what happens in our lives and for how we show up to it. Today, we're going to explore the possibility that there is a deep practice that can be engaged when it comes to applying principles. This is in no way to invalidate the why and asking why. Because if you're sitting in this sanctuary, if you're sitting online, if you're listening to this message, you have been transformed, no, by asking that question. But just like an analogy, have you ever given an analogy to a person that maybe is a devil's advocate or just finds a way to keep going with it, and find the place that it breaks down and it makes absolutely no sense? You know? Like if you're talking about relationships and you're talking about doing your work and sticking with it, you can't be talking the same conversation if you're talking to someone that's in an abusive relationship as you would be if you're talking to someone that's in a healthy, dynamic relationship that just has work to be done. Right? It breaks down after a while. Well, friends, let's engage in the possibility that in New Thought and in Unity, sometimes we've become so good at taking responsibility and being accountable that we're missing something. That we might be missing something. I was recently with little Georgia, who is going on 6 months now, and she was having a funny little experience. I like to say that she is reacting and she's responding, and I like to do that instead of labeling everything, like I don't say, she's angry now, or she's whatever, I like to, it's my little over-unitizing probably, but I just try to let the space for everything to be everything, and for the most part, she is like you see her when she walks up here with me. She's just, but this week she had some little, experiences. And in this experience, I'm holding her and I'm doing all the things that, I normally do. And granted, like I am, not at all in any way, shape, or form complaining. But she's doing this and my little things aren't working, and I'm looking at her and I'm just wondering, like, why? Why? What's the matter? Why are you not happy? Try to feed her, try to do this, and just, right? And then all of a sudden I had this flash of my dad come to mind. I had this flash of my dad come to mind and how he used to be with us. And as I'm looking at this little 6-month-old, like really going like, why? I think of my dad and I just grab out the crazy little lighted unicorn that Joan gave me. And I turn on the lights and I'm like, hey! And just, done. Done, gone. All better. How many times in our lives do we sit there asking why? And it's just as futile. When in fact we could just change the channel, plant a new seed, and it's gone. In the work of Jerry and Esther Hicks, in that work, they talk a lot, and again, spiritual principles can be oversimplified and they can be over-exaggerated, right? We can just get in touch with some and almost addicted to them and say everything is me, it's always me, it's all my fault, I'm responsible for everything I see. And then we can be so trite, we could go, you know what, I didn't really need to think about anything, let me just change the channel and be happy. People are dying all around, let me just change the channel and be happy. Right? These are not blanket principles. They're not principles just to throw over everything all the time and say, it worked for me once, I'm going to use that exactly in the same way all of time. These are deep principles, and they take mindfulness, and they take meditation. They take going to headquarters. They take sometimes falling to our knees and saying, show me this. So I pose the possibility for each of us today that sometimes you and I may overly sit with the question why. And maybe it's time that we allow ourselves the grace to release the intensity of that question. There's something called survivor's guilt when there's an accident, right? That the people that have lived sit with why, and it becomes painful to go, why? Why is it that I lived and they didn't? Why is it that this amazing man that I knew that was an environmental beauty, that was a grace-filled light, died in his early 30s or his late 20s? And I, who whatever, am struggling in this and this and this and that, am still here. There's this funny little story from ministerial school, and this is going to date me because we had a videotape, and it was like a really big deal when you did your talk for ministerial school. When you did your last talk, you only did I guess you only did one really big one. You maybe did one at the end of each year. And so this was like the one before you graduate and try to go get a job, right? So it was like a big deal, and you have everyone and their brother helping you. You know, you have like 10 ministers all helping you to put on one little chapel service, right? And so it's the days of the VHS videotape, and you tape it, and then when you're done, you know, you kind of really hope you did a good job, not just for your grade, and well, it probably wasn't hardly in the mind to go, not just so that there's spiritual awakening in that moment, right? You're probably like, oh, so I get a good grade, oh, so I can get a job, oh, so I can show that I actually can do this and I'm not awful at what I think I'm going to be doing next. But we had a videotape, and you do your very best, right? So I did my very best, and I thought, okay, I think that was all right. I think that's doable. I think I'll be able to send that tape off. And I had a classmate at the time who was, exploring the new technology and video editing. So he said, I will take your video that's just, on, off. That's what we knew how to do then, right? On, off. And I will make an image in the beginning that says Erin and the date, and I will have fades. And I was like, God, what is it in my consciousness? Why I manifested this? That's awesome. Out of everyone, he wants to just help me and make my fancy video fancy, right? What is it in my consciousness that drew this to me? Why? Great. And so then he comes back a little while later. It took a while to get it back, and it's a while, and we're getting ready to, send videos off and stuff like that. And then he just comes to me, because all the other things, mind you, at this time are not videos where someone can see you. They're audios where you just get the tape, right? The cassette tape. It's so funny that these things are becoming funny now. So you just send off the audio tape with a picture or something like that. And so he comes to me, and it's taking longer than I thought. And then I don't remember how he actually ended up telling me, but we ended up having a conversation. And he just says, Erin, I don't know what happened, but the tape's empty. It got deleted. Steve's laughing. It seems so little right now. But boy, was I how you're but I did so well, but it was so good, and it's gone, it's completely gone. Why did I give it to him? What was I thinking? Why wasn't it enough just to have it? How could that have happened? What did he do? How did he just, it's gone, and there's nothing you can do to get it back. And I have not very many avenues in which to give a talk that will be video recorded, right? So there's not much opportunity to fix this. There is just being with what is, it's gone. And so I was in, a champagne problem at the time, a champagne problem of, woe is me, and why? And so I kept then asking the question, why? Why did it erase? What is it in my consciousness that my video got completely deleted? That I have nothing now to send off for an interview? And I was, must have been complaining enough or whining enough, and just and trying to be reflective, trying to be responsible, trying to be accountable for my experience, right? Of why this happened to me. And I had a friend come up to me, a ministerial school friend, when I was sitting with this, and I was completely, obviously toiling about asking the question, how did I do this? And he just said, Erin, sometimes stuff just happens, and just let it go. Sometimes it just happens, and let it go. Sometimes you don't need to ask that question. Sometimes you don't need to dive in and keep diving in until you find something. Sometimes it's okay to just say, things suck sometimes, and the video's gone. Do we give ourselves the grace to say that in our lives? when we keep toiling and we keep pulling and we keep asking why. And we can't find a question and we can't find the answer to that question. And instead, that question that could bring us in for transformation actually brings us into suffering. Now I'm talking about videotapes and cassette tapes. And that's trite. Those are champagne problems now. But we all have things that we do that with, don't we? That instead of using the practice and the principles to harmonize, which Charles Fillmore, the love, to add love and to harmony, to bring us into love, to bring us into awakening, to bring us into enlightenment. We keep doing the same thing we know to do because it woke us up sometimes, it helped us sometimes, but it is not creating peace, it is not creating wisdom, it is not answering the questions of light, and it is instead bringing us into separation, bringing us into discord, bringing us into sometimes, which is like a little bit of unity psychosis. Or new thought craziness of just taking something too far. And sometimes it's okay to just say, if there is something for me to know here, if there is something in me that is causing this, if there is something in me that needs to shift so I don't repeat this pattern, so I don't become a cause for things I don't want, I trust this grace-filled universe to bring me that answer in its own time, in its own way. I am reachable, I am teachable, and I'm going to let go now. Can you trust yourself? That you are open enough, you are listening enough. That if there is a why for you, you would get it because you're here, you're present, you're awake, you're willing. Think about what it might be that you're ready and willing to let go of holding on to let go of painfully demanding the answer to why. A question, an area, an experience, a situation, a circumstance, a relationship, a happening, where you realize that asking why is not working for you, it is not creating light. Where you realize that you had good intentions, even if it wasn't about why as far as something you did, but it's just about why does the universe work like this? Why did this happen? Why? Breathe into that. Can you feel the constriction that that question can sometimes cause? When you painfully ask, what's causing this? That's energy tied up. That is energy bound. Are you ready to unravel it? Ready to loosen it? I invite you to just gently close your eyes if you're comfortable in this moment. And just breathe into the option that is available to you. To let go of the idea that you did, someone did, God did, the universe did something wrong, or finding out why. Letting finding out why be less important. Not because it's not a valid question, but because you remember sometimes that it's not helpful. Because you remember that in this situation or this circumstance, or at times in life, it doesn't lead to more light or more love or harmonizing or healing. And in this moment, we just look at how we've been showing up to whatever it is on your heart. And ask, is it helpful? Is it useful? Is it wise? Is it beneficial to someone else, to humanity, to myself? Is it making me feel better, or is it making me feel worse? And just allow the breath to go there. Just allow some oxygen in. Open the windows. It's okay to let go. It's okay to stop digging around, to stop begging for the answers, to stop looking in all the corners of your consciousness. You might even notice that you're a little raw from all the seeking. Trust that if you need to know why, it will reveal itself in time, or the intense desire to know why will lift itself. It will be lifted from you. Trust that even if you're creating it, that in letting go, there's space for healing and movement. And breathe until you feel lighter. And when you feel lighter, bring your attention back to this moment. Sometimes we wait so long asking why, we forget to move forward into a powerful question of what can I do with this? What does this have for me? What can I make from this? What is the gift here? Sometimes we stare so long at why, we forget that the caliber of the question determines the quality of the answer. The caliber of the question determines the quality of the answer. In every moment, we can always ask and co-create, answer for ourselves, what does this have for me? That is a question that's interactive. That is a question that we live into the answer, that as we're experiencing the question, we are called to co-create the answer. In John 9, it has the story of the blind man, the man born blind being healed, the miracle healing. And Jesus saw the man who had been blind since birth. The disciples were asking him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned? Who sinned? Where was the error? Why? Was it this man? Was it his parents that he was born blind? And the master teacher said, neither this man nor his parents sinned. But this happened so the works of God might be displayed in him. Everything that happens can bring us from why to what. From the idea of asking why to the power of saying, what can I do with this? What is the gift in this? What shall I create from here? Namaste.
Been on my mind. I can't really see a reason to surrender this time, so I'm hanging on the line. Daddy really working. that won't get me home. Hoping that the wind will blow me away from this fear, 'cause I've been hanging out for years. Oh, been waiting for the wind to blow. Oh, been waiting for the wind to blow. It ain't easy growing. Change is hard to start. But you've been waiting on my heart, and if this boat is rowing home, I got to do my part, yeah, yeah. Oh, been waiting for the wind to blow. Oh, been waiting for the wind to blow. Nothing really changes, but everything changes. So here we are with love at stake, and the hardest choice is the easiest to make.